is up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome to another episode of Sons of the Star. I'm your host, Dallas. Follow us on Twitter at Sons of Star Pod. And of course, joining me again, as always, Cowboy Reg. Follow him on X at Cowboy_Reg, that double G. What's going on, Cowboy Reg? Full disclosure, we are already getting into a lot of content and arguments before this podcast has started. So it should be a good one tonight.
Yeah, I'd have to say that I feel after the couple slow days of free agency, with everyone else having their frenzy, I feel a lot like it's the second quarter and we're down 27-0 in a playoff game. That's how I feel, like somebody punched me in the gut. How you doing?
Yeah, it's been very anticlimactic for Cowboys fans because we were so sick and disgusted after that Packers loss, and we said, well, at least we're going to go all in, and we had a different definition. We talked about on the podcast after Jerry had some cryptic comments about all in, so we weren't all the way sure what all in meant, but as of right now, we can tell our definition and the fans' definition of all in and Jerry Jones and the front office's definition of all in seem to be two completely different things. So yeah, I mean we've had a big week. Hey, before we really get into the meat of the show today, we just want to let you guys know that we were on a Green Bay Packers popular podcast last weekend called Packers Without Borders. So go give that a listen. It was an awesome episode with Matt over there at Packers Without Borders. It was an awesome show. So go check that out. And we continue to try to grow our brand a little bit and do some more podcasts. And we're going to try to collaborate more and more with other people, around the podcast world. So let's get started today as we do always. If you leave us some questions on X, we're going to get to those and we're going to answer your questions. How's that sound, Cowboy Reg?
Sounds like a plan. Let's execute it.
All right, let's execute it. So we got a few questions on X today. Just our normal shooting it out on X, saying, "Hey, you guys bring up anything, and we're going to talk about it on the podcast." So we had um, Sports Odd Shift, Deshaun Watson's burner, and Yusef Nakuda reach out to us today. Yusef and Sports Odd Shift had some very similar questions, so we're going to answer that first. Who should Jerry Jones pursue in next free agency, or where will we go next in free agency? So basically, both folks here are asking, what's the next move for Jerry Jones in the front office when it comes to free agency? Cowboy Reg, you got the floor.
If you need a running back on the cheap, all you got to do is feed Zeke.
Hmm.
We've been laughing about it back and forth, but his name just keeps creeping up on the list of top free agent running backs. At some point, you just sit back and laugh and say, "Hey, you got $6 million or over $6 million in dead cap space paying Zeke right now. You're paying the guy. Might as well put him to work. Come on in, Zeke." And then you draft a running back high, and then Zeke can take him under his wing. That one thing that Zeke knows is how to handle the star on his helmet his rookie year. He did a great job of that. So
Yeah, that's
maybe it
true.
wouldn't be such a bad thing. But I think the answer to the question seriously is a running back. We got to get a running back in free agency. I think we're going to get a mid-range veteran. I don't think it's going to be the running back one. I think our RB1 comes in the draft. So I think they'll pick one up. Not saying it'll be Zeke, but that would be interesting if they go that route. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you might as well, right? I mean, if you already are paying him, you have that dead cap space. I mean, yeah,
Right?
I guess you might as well have the
Put him to
guy.
work.
I don't know. I don't know what to say about Zeke. Obviously, he did not have a good year last year, but he was on a bad team, a team that was, down often, and they didn't really focus on running the ball.
I'm not sure
They didn't
his
try to.
yards per carry were much different than Pollard's. If you look at him, I don't think there's a big difference there. I think the
Yeah.
difference
Okay.
is we need a RB1. We need RB1, and there's none left on the board there, man. I mean, there's just I don't see any free agent that you say I'm going to put my team behind that guy. They're all gone. So now we're in the RB2 stage. So look at Zeke the way you'd look at any other RB2 and tell me, can he still play RB2? I think he can. but I don't think they'll pick him up. That just it'd be too much for Jerry. He couldn't handle that. Bringing the guy back in the building. No, he doesn't do that.
He doesn't do what? Sorry, you cut out Cowboy Reg. He won't bring Zeke back, you
I
don't
don't.
think?
I don't think he would. I mean, he wouldn't with players in the past that left. Des Bryant or Terrell Owens want to come back. He didn't let him come back. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. I just don't see that's Jerry's style. I mean, he might surprise us all, but I think he shies away from Zeke, and he might skip over him and go lower. In the end, we might have a running back 3 veteran and move Rico up to 2, and then draft a running back 1 in the draft. Either way, we got to take one in the draft at this point. We blew our opportunity to use that pick on something else. We're going to have to take a running back probably in the second or third round because it's got to be our guy. It's got to be our workhorse next year. And I don't think they can risk dropping 10 running backs into the draft and picking one up. We don't have a fourth round pick, so you better get one in the second or third, or now you're in the fifth round and you're expecting a guy to carry the load that got passed up by 10 other teams. Can't do it.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about the running back situation right now. I think it's so decimated at this point that I don't think it should be the Cowboys move because I don't think there's anyone out there that's really I mean, at this point, I don't think anyone's trying to snatch anyone up. So, I mean, I don't know what you do. I mean, maybe you start by re-signing Rico because he's a familiar guy, but going out and getting Zeke doesn't move the needle for me. I mean, maybe he could come back and have one more good year. His decline in the NFL has just been year after year. He gets worse and worse and worse. Last year, he's averaging 3.5 yards per carry. Tony Pollard
Okay,
was
yeah.
averaging 4. So, I mean, 3.5 is it's just not good. It's not good. I and if you're but yeah, you're paying dead money in your cap to have him. So you bring him back and you're still gonna have to pay him again. So at that point, you got the veteran minimum plus the 6 million that you have already. I think it's actually 6 or 7 million that is in dead space. So, I mean, what is he at that point? A $10 million running back? Like that got
Now,
used more. You could have
like I
got
said, the his primary use would be to mentor the rookie coming in because it would not be Zeke's job. If they bring in Zeke, it's not his job to carry the rock. His job is going to be to back this guy up, give him a break. Maybe Zeke can get those short yards. We miss that. Maybe Zeke can pick up blitzes. We miss a running back that can do that. Pollard improved on it, but Zeke was the best at it, catching the ball out of the backfield. Little things like that. Maybe he could get us that third and short or that fourth and goal that we couldn't get. Pollard got stood up at the goal line in Philly. We lost that game. I think Zeke drives through that guy. So, hey, I think Zeke's still, second or third on the list of free agents left, but the way the Cowboys are moving, he's going to be number one on that list soon. And Dallas is going to have to look at him. You got to look at it. It's right in front of you. You got to look at it.
yeah, man, it's so tough. So to answer your question, what's the next move the Cowboys should make in free agency? Well, I think I don't really see the moves left to be made. I think there's definitely some guys out there that you could get to improve your team. But at this point, I think you need to focus on re-signing some guys at least. I mean, if you're not going to sign anybody in free agency in these first 3 days, whatever. I get that that's not the Cowboys thing, blah, blah, blah. These teams are overpaying for them. Well, yeah, but you kind of have to do that to improve your team. Everyone else in the NFL is improving their team right now, and Dallas isn't doing much of anything. Um, so maybe if you're going to re-sign Tyron Smith, why don't you go ahead and do that? He hasn't been picked up yet. If you're going to resign Stephon Gilmore, do that. I know you re-signed Jordan Lewis, but you lost Tony Pollard. You have really no one in your running back room right now, so you might want to make a move there. You lost your center and Tyler Biotish. You lost your 2 edge rushers. You've picked up a couple guys, but that we're going to get to later. Hendricks, but man, I mean that's what you can tell I'm fired up because it's pretty annoying right now. Because if you don't want to make moves, it's fine, but are we going to start losing more and more guys? It's not only are we not picking up new guys, is that we're losing our team kind of slowly here. and a lot of the guys that are on free agency, and that's going to make me nervous as time goes on. Um, I guess I'm the only good thing is that they haven't been picked up yet, but you're going to have to start signing some of your core guys back again. Stephon Gilmore, Tyron Smith. If you're going to keep Rico Dowell, um, that would be nice to see some more signings. So that's what I think your next move is in free agency. Um, Last question on X today from Deshaun Watson's burner. Worst free agent loss, Cowboy Reg. What's the worst player that the Cowboys
Well,
missed out on?
right now for me, it's Tony Pollard. I mean, we heard and we covered in our last podcast that Tony's people were reaching out to Dallas saying, look, I may get offered more money elsewhere, but I'm willing to take less to stay because I'm comfortable here. This is home. So we thought we were going to get a hometown discount. I turn on my TV Monday morning. The first thing I see is Tony Pollard is signing with the Titans. And I mean,
Yeah.
like $8 million. And I thought we were projected to offer him 6.5, but now the way Jerry's talking, his market is 3 to 4 million tops on a running back. So I guess that was all speculation that never happened. And Tony, good for him. I'm happy for him. He get to go home to Tennessee where he grew up in Memphis, and they have the barbecue place, the Pollard's Barbecue in Memphis, Tennessee. He's going to be right down the road, and he gets to play in front of his folks again. And it's good for him. He got paid too, so good for him.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from there. That was kind of, I guess it wasn't a surprising loss, but as time moves on, it seems surprising to me because we at least thought, well, okay, Tony Pollard walked, so we must be signing someone. I mean, there's been, I think, 13 or 14 running backs that were taken at this point, and Dallas doesn't have a single one of them. So what are we doing in the running back room? I don't understand it. Like, yeah, like you said, if he's willing to take it, if you weren't going to make a move, like you should have re-signed Tony Pollard. Like that's a huge failure in the front office because now you're losing your guy that's been there for years. We know he didn't have a great year, but he still rushed for 1,000 yards last year. Um, and they chose to let him walk and not be competitive. So yeah, Tony Pollard was a big loss for me. Um, I'm kind of torn here. I initially I really wanted, we talked about Derrick Henry. He would have been great. Um, I think if Dallas does a few things differently, if they truly want to put the make the moves to put the best possible team on the field last year, they sign a guy like Derrick Henry because he's the most consistent running back within this free agent class, and
Never called
he
him. We never even called him. We did not make any
never even talked.
contact with
Yeah,
him.
never even talked to him, and he signed. Make sure I guess it. He signed a 2-year, $16 million deal, so that would have been roughly an $8 million cap hit this year. Like that's not that extreme, right? He didn't get paid Saquon money, which is great.
Just
We
got
didn't want
done
Saquon.
paying Pollard 10 million. We paid Pollard 10 million this year, so 8 million is a bargain.
Yeah, so I guess for me, I'm going to go ahead and answer. I guess Derrick Henry was the biggest loss after the fact that, and this is tough because I was really upset with not picking up a linebacker until we signed Hendricks. So I'm going to back away from that. Originally, I thought we didn't make a move at linebacker, but we ended up making a pretty good move at linebacker. And Frankie Louvu is a guy I was high on from day one. He got paid quite a bit. He's at 3-year, 36 million. That's a lot of money. And then Bobby Wagner got $8.5 million for someone that doesn't do good in pass coverage. He's a great run stopper, but I don't think Bobby Wagner is maybe worth 8.5. But out of all the guys that get signed, I mean, it sounds to me like Derrick Henry took a little pay cut to be on a competitive team, like with the Ravens. He probably would have done the same thing in Dallas. He came out in public and said, you know, I trained in Dallas in the offseason. It would have been I want to be in a playoff contender, and they never called me. Like, come on, man. Like, I get Jerry Jones doesn't want to overpay for guys, but like, you can't even contact the guy. Like,
Yeah,
he's
that
your most consistent, really free agent available
yeah.
right
I
now.
I thought the worst case scenario it would be that we got Barkley or Aaron Jones. I never dreamed that
Yeah,
we wouldn't get if we didn't get Derrick Henry. I thought, well, we'll probably end up with Barkley or Aaron Jones, and then we didn't get any of those three. And then you started looking like, well, maybe we can get Joe, Mixon, or maybe we can get AJ Dillon or whatever, and then days just keep rolling by, and we haven't got a single running back. I'm puzzled by that, and yeah, that's why I picked Pollard, and I can't argue with you picking Henry. It's the running back position that we lost out on in free agency. We lost. We did not.
yeah,
There's no way to sugarcoat that. We got zero. You got a zero in the class. That's an F. You got zero. You picked up zero free agent running backs. The first we're in the day four now. We're in the day four. It's like you didn't show up to the draft to the fourth day. That's where we're
yeah,
at, with running backs. Yeah. Okay. I know we pick up we got one linebacker outside the team. That's it. One guy, 4 days outside the team. No running back. And we're losing running backs. We lost one, signed with another team. And then our next running back up, Rico, he's not signed yet. So, yeah, now you got me fired up. And I was pretty
I
calm
know.
when this started.
Yeah, it's puzzling, and look, like, I get that we are low in the cap right now, but we all know that there are plenty of moves that Dallas could make to free up cap space. They already did it with Zach Martin. We expected them to do it with Dak, and they haven't done it, but we still expect them to do it. That's what's confusing. And then you're a 12-5 team, number 2 seed in the NFC, and you had a disappointing loss in the playoffs, but obviously you're close. So I don't get where the state of the Dallas Cowboys is right now. I think the front office
I
is
have
sending
a
us.
theory.
Oh God, they're
We're bringing
rebuilding.
back we're bringing back the tinfoil hat. We missed out the last couple episodes with the tinfoil hat. So get your tinfoil hat on. I have a theory.
Okay, let's hear it.
Jerry and Steven are afraid of this lawsuit that's dropping on Dak right now. Dak is sued a lady for extortion, and she's charged him with sexual misconduct. So I think there might be a little PTSD with the Joneses with what happened with Zeke. Zeke was cleared by law enforcement. They thought the case was over because he was cleared, and the NFL came down and suspended him basically a whole year. They lost on Zeke in his prime. I wonder if that's in the back of his
Mm,
mind. Everything I've read about these charges so far seems to point at extortion, and this girl's trying to get money out of Dak, and he obviously has proof of that because he sued her first. I don't see his lawyer going through a lawsuit unless Dak has proof, text messages or whatever, of the extortion. So, but that I wouldn't put it past the Joneses, and that's my theory that they might be just letting this play out. You lock
yeah,
him down
it
for
makes
four
sense.
more years. You lock him down for 4 more years, and God forbid the NFL comes in and suspends him. You have no plan B. So I wonder if they're going to let him ride, maybe restructure his contract into some dead money, stretch it out to lower the cap. But maybe they don't re-sign Dak if they're afraid of this. I still am in the re-sign Dak and clear up cap space. I'm in that camp. But what does that even do for right now? We've missed out on the first 4 days of free agency, so now there's no urgency to re-sign anybody either. So I mean, this is just mind-boggling what we're going through.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you bring up about Dak. All I've really seen about it is the counter sue part, or that Dak is going through some legal action for defamation. I don't know much. I don't know anything else about it, so I don't want to really speak about it. Something I don't know anything about. But yeah, you could be onto something there. I mean, maybe they're waiting for that to play out. Maybe there's much more to it. I didn't read about it other than there's a defamation suit, so I'm not entirely sure. But you could be right. I mean, Cowboy Reg, you could be onto something there. Um, who knows? But you still got other guys that you could restructure some deals with. Um, Cutting
Yeah, yeah,
Michael
it's no
Gallup before
excuse.
June 1st.
Yeah, it's
Right.
no
It's just a
excuse. I'm
theory.
not making any excuses, but would you? Out there in Cowboys Nation, anybody listening, would you put it past Jerry and Stephen Jones to withhold a contract from Dak Prescott because they suspect that he might be in trouble with the league? And I don't think anybody could honestly say, no, no, the Joneses wouldn't do that. Of course they would.
Yeah. Yeah, only time will tell. But as of right now, we don't know what's going on in the running back room, and obviously we did not make any big free agent signings. Specifically in the running back room, I mean, you're looking at your best case scenario as of right now is that Rico, your running back two is going to be running back one, and then you have Deuce Vaughn who really didn't do anything last year. Malik
Malik
Davis
Davis
who
is, there's no way that Malik Davis should not be ahead of Deuce Vaughn. Deuce
yeah
Vaughn, you got to get him on the practice squad. Malik can be our RB3. Rico can be our RB2 if we draft high. But you got what we haven't signed Rico. I mean Rico can't be asking for a lot of money. He never got RB1 carries his whole career. I mean, he just sign him. Whatever it takes, get the man signed. Let's get
yeah
some
because
security in the running back room. It's crazy.
yeah, that's what you have to do because if you don't sign him soon, like he's gonna he's gonna think the Cowboys don't want him, and maybe someone will pick him up. But
I
yeah,
think
our
somebody
the
would like Carolina, where he's from. I mean, he played at University of South Carolina. He can go to Carolina, play for the veteran minimum. After he's a 5th-year player, 6 year coming up on a 6 year. Get the veteran minimum, go and play. But we probably only need to offer him a little over the veteran minimum, if that, and he would
yeah
sign it. So I have no idea what we're waiting on that. That makes no sense at all.
yeah, it's puzzling. Hey, thank you for your X questions. I know we were long winded there, but you pretty much got us into what we were going to talk about today. This is an episode pretty much talking about two things. It's free agency and it's what is the status of the front office right now? Like what are the Cowboys doing in the future? So let's talk free agency here, Cowboy Reg, and then we'll move on to our next topic. But we've already really gotten into it, but realistically here, so let's just go through the big news. So we didn't get Derrick Henry, we didn't get a running back. We missed out on a few of the top linebackers, depending how you look at it. We talked about Frankie Louvu. We didn't get him. Bobby Wagner was another guy we didn't get. But hey, we got Eric Hendricks on a deal from the LA Chargers, but had some kind of deal with the San Francisco 49ers that didn't go through. He chose to come to Dallas. Good veteran guy, former All Pro, former Pro Bowler, had a pretty decent year last year. He's a guy that's worked predominantly in the Mike Zimmer system. He played probably 5, 6 years with Zimmer, um, mostly for the Vikings. Just had 1 year there with a stint with the Chargers. But what have you heard about Eric Hendricks and do you think it's a good? Sorry, Kendricks, Eric Kendricks, not Hendricks.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Kendricks?
I'd love the pickup. I mean, look, we're going to have probably a draft pick linebacker in there with our veteran linebacker. And assuming that LVE's career is over, we don't have
Yeah,
a veteran linebacker for a young linebacker to learn from, just like we don't have a veteran running back right now for a young running back to learn from. So we need a veteran linebacker. He knows the Zimmer system. What a better guy to have in there when we get our rookie stud linebacker to learn from. And when he looks at him and says, "This is what Coach Mike means, go here, here, or here," he knows what he's talking about. He's been there, he's played under Zimmer. I think it's perfect. I think there's a lot of gas left in his tank, and I know they lowballed him. It's a 1 year deal. That as we air this show, the amount has not been disclosed, but with a
yeah,
1 year deal, it's got to be low for Jerry and Steven to grab him. And I think the reason why he changed his mind is he may have heard from Mike. He may have heard from Zimmer that, hey, I'm running the same system, buddy. You know what you did when you were with me. You know what you can do under my system. Here's an opportunity, and I think he jumped on it. Um,
yeah. The
sounds like
the best
nobody
year of his
called
career
Derrick
was
Henry.
so. the
Yeah.
best year of his career was with Mike Zimmer, so there's got to be something there. That I agree with you. That has to be the reason that we took him from San Francisco, and that's a good sign. I mean, you take someone from the former NFC champion. If they thought he was a good
Yeah.
addition, obviously there's something there, and we took him from them. So hey, that's a good move. I don't know. I'm really curious to see what happens with LVE on this offseason because really, if you look at it, I think that our linebacker room is actually pretty full right now. Um, you have
Well, I
Overshown
think
coming
I
back.
think you move. Yeah, I think you move those guys back to safety, right? Um, Marquise Bell, maybe, and Damone Clark. I don't know if those guys are up in that rotation with our. Well, you go ahead. What you tell me what you think on that, but I'm not counting
No,
those
I
guys
I
necessarily
no.
as top
Okay,
linebacker.
that's fair. I think Damone Clark maybe, but I think Marquise Bell has actually had a decent year at linebacker. I think he could stick at linebacker, um, and especially at least matchup when you have a good tight end. When you're playing a team with a good tight end, like he stepped up in that role. But yeah, all this changes if LVE doesn't come back and Overshown like isn't either 100% health. It seems like he's healthy and they're pretty high on him, so I expect to see him
Yeah,
next year. But at that point, you have Buddy Johnson, Overshown, LVE, maybe. I think a lot of signs are pointing towards LVE might not be back. And you have Eric Kendricks, Marquise Bell, Damone Clark. I think Damone Clark could definitely, get out of the linebacker room. He stepped up and, hey, like he was asked to do a difficult job. He just didn't
it
perform as
did
well
what he
as
had to do.
Yeah, I think Marquise Bell really he did a great job last year at linebacker. He's
Yeah,
got the 18th out of 82 PFF ranking for all linebackers.
solid.
So, and one of the best coverage linebackers really in the NFL for statistically last year.
Speed
So,
guy too.
but
I
yeah,
like the way he run down a running back. He gave us
yeah,
speed that we didn't
100%.
necessarily. We had power with LVE, but we had speed. If you try to run down the middle on LVE, he stopped you. But Marquise Bell could catch those guys on the wings that LVE could not. So I'm a big fan of Marquise Bell. I got no problem seeing him back there. I hope he puts on about 10 pounds in the offseason, just straight muscle, beef up a little bit so he can help stop the run. Outside of that, I have no complaints.
Yeah. Um, we'll see. I got a feeling LVE will try to go one more year, and maybe he
I
comes
don't
in the
think so.
rotation.
I think Kendricks is the guy to come in. If they thought LV was coming back, that's the veteran presence you need in the linebacker room. I think Kendricks is LVE's replacement. That's my take on it. I think they
Yeah, I
know
just,
that he's played his
yeah.
last game, and if he's not willing to retire, they might just cut him. And hey, no one. I don't see anyone else picking a guy up off multiple neck injuries right now. So
No,
I think it's time that he calls the shot on his own and retire.
yeah, I hope you're wrong. I do want to see him back. I don't want to see him back in a starter role, but I think having him in that room next year would be a good thing. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of I understand what you're saying, and I do think you're right. My brain says you're right. My heart hopes that you're wrong.
Yeah.
Because I'm a
Yeah,
big
no, me
LVE guy,
too. Yeah.
but I think you're right. I think signing a veteran like that. But yeah, I think it depends on the draft. Who's available in the draft? Like if there's a really good linebacker available in the first round, then yeah, maybe you take him. But I think maybe like Peyton Wilson's the guy, right? He's the top guy, top linebacker in this class. Like if he's available at 24, maybe you take him. But depending on what they do at running back and what they do with Tyron Smith, I mean, that round one is going to be tough. Um, but let's finish off the topic of free agents first. So, we had some departures. We lost Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler. We lost Tyler Biadasz. We kind of expected that. Dan Quinn took Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler, not our top guys, but rotational guys. They could be replaced. And we lost Tony Pollard. Like we said, we re-signed Jordan Lewis, cornerback Jordan Lewis. that was a good pickup, like we said. He's kind of, if he can be your third or fourth best cornerback on your team, it's a good role for him as long as he stays healthy. He's a good slot cornerback. Um, but Cowboy Reg, I'm going to ask you, what are your thoughts on Stephon Gilmore? I know we kind of talked about it before. It might be picking between Jordan Lewis and Stephon Gilmore. So, do you think that's the case? Do you think, hopefully, are they going to bring Gilmore back?
I hope that's not the case. I hope that they're targeting Gilmore as well. I don't think Gilly wants to keep up and moving his family and going from place to place at his age. I think they could get him at a fairly low rate, and I think Steven and Jerry love that kind of deal. I don't see them letting him walk. I think they go after him. I think Jordan Lewis, you had to sign Jordan Lewis because he wasn't going to demand the big bucks. And you don't know where Diggs is going to be. I mean, we saw that with Tony Pollard. How
Right.
long did it take him to get back to his whole old self? Well, I don't think he ever got back to his old self, but week 11 or week 12, you started seeing some juice back in the legs. He started looking a little quicker. It, if that's going to happen to Diggs, we're going to need Jordan Lewis and Gilmore. Bland can't cover the whole
Absolutely.
field by himself. So I think they still got to sign Gilmore. Hey, they have clarified their comments. All in means taking care of their own. So I have no reason to believe that they're not going to go after these guys. I know that you think, they let this guy walk and this guy walk. I mean, I don't see a single guy gone right now that we didn't know was going to be gone, right? We really knew that Pollard had played his last game. We knew that. We knew they weren't going to go
Mm,
after those edge rushers. They knew they want to pay Parsons. They're already paying Tank Lawrence. They couldn't pay those guys. We knew that was going to happen. It's just shocking to watch them walk away and we're not bringing anyone else in. That's what I think the fan frustration is like, look, if we lose a guy, give me a guy. We lose one, gain one,
right.
lose one, gain one. And we're kind of keeping score here. We're playing that chess match. Well, we're not even putting our pieces on the table, man. Everyone else is out there playing chess, and our pieces are in the cabinet still. Like we're not even involved in the game.
Yeah, that's the frustrating part. And this could change. My view on this could change. As it stands now, I still feel like we're gonna lose a couple more guys. Um, And at this point, I guess you're definitely could be right, Cowboy Ridge. Maybe they're just going to re-sign a bunch of guys, plan on the draft, maybe get some more low-key guys that aren't the top names. Maybe in these next few days, these next couple of weeks, they're going to slowly pick up some guys, and maybe by next week's podcast, we can say, okay, I kind of get what they were doing. Um, but my issue is with the all-in thing. It's like what we said, you're going to restructure your veterans, your core guys to free up some cap space and at least make a move where your team has struggled, right? And where did our team struggle last year? It was in run stop defense and rushing offense. And you didn't pick up anyone to help out your rushing. I guess you picked up Kendricks, which is one guy to help your rushing defense, but you're losing defensive linemen. You haven't picked up any defensive linemen. Your potential you lost your center, which is a fairly big deal. You haven't re-signed Tyler Smith, and your running back room right now is pretty much decimated. So we got no real as of right now. We haven't improved in the positions where we are lacking, and that's my concern. We have a long way to go before the start of the NFL season, but that's my biggest concern right now, and I think we could both agree with that. But I guess I want to lose my mind as much as I want to lose my mind. I'm going to take a deep breath. Cowboy Red just calm me down, and I'm going to continue to have faith. Let this thing play out. But it's been a frustrating week because all we
Yeah.
needed is like if you have the Kendrick signing, and you don't have to sign Derrick Henry, but just like one of the top at least 10 running backs that were available to you, I could have been like, okay, this is starting to make sense. But
Yeah.
as of right
Well,
now,
yeah. Let me give you a little bit of positivity. Let me give you a little bit of optimism. Hey, We
okay,
we were on the show Packers Without Borders, and we were talking to the host Matt about the state of the Cowboys, state of the Packers, and he pointed out to us that 9 of their 11 draft picks were on the field during that playoff game that they blew us out in. 9
Yeah,
draft picks were on the field. So, hey, if they can re-sign the core of this team and hit a home run in the draft, we could get better. But that is really a long shot. I don't think that's
it's
the norm.
risky.
It's
No.
risky. It's not. I mean, then I think about the last time we were the number one seeds in the NFL going to the playoffs, and we had a rookie Dak, we had a rookie Zeke.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it can happen. You could catch lightning in a bottle, but I don't know if you could catch it twice. So I don't like the route we're taking right now. I want some backup plans in place if the rookies don't pan out. Because guess what? They didn't pan out last year. Overshown was our highest expectation, our best hope coming out of training camp. He gets injured out for the season.
Yeah.
And then, Mozzie decides he's going to go on Atkins and lose 40 pounds, and he gets pushed over by the 5'8" center. And
Yeah,
then,
man.
and then
Mm,
we got Luke Schoonmaker, who was injured before he was drafted. He was injured. He couldn't even do the combine because he's injured. And Jerry's like, give me that guy. He's a tall guy, so he must be a good tight end. So that
yeah.
was our draft last year. Are we expected to go to the Super Bowl with 9 draft picks next year? Ain't going to happen. We need somebody in free agency, and time is ticking.
Yeah, you gotta resign. I think let's end free agency with this. I think we're both in agreement. At this point, as things stand, you have to resign the guys you have left. I think
Yeah,
pretty
you're
much
right.
everyone that we have left, I think we have to find a way to resign them. So
Yep.
we signed Jordan Lewis, we lost Dante Fowler. So we have Jaron Curse, Jonathan Hankins, Gilmore, and Tyron Smith. And I guess you could throw Rico Dowell in there. So,
Yeah.
I
Go
mean,
Rico in.
maybe you don't have to sign 100%, but I mean, Curse is a guy I feel like you got to resign. I would like to see Hankins back, um, because
If
you
you
have to
don't
have some
re-sign
surety.
Tyron Smith, if you don't re-sign Tyron Smith, you can re-sign everyone else on that list. I think that's the guy they're hesitant
Yeah,
because of his health and the money. He apparently wants more money. They had that $1 million a game deal with him last year, and apparently he wants more money, and the Cowboys are nervous because of his health. I mean,
I
I know
get
the
that.
Cowboys know
I
how to
get that.
handle him, and I'd love to see him back. But if you can give me every guy on that list but Tyron Smith, I'm taking it. I'll take it. I've already mentally prepared to move on from him. I think it's a huge
I agree.
loss and hate to see him play anywhere else, but I've already considered him gone. And just like I knew Biotish was gone, we all knew Biotish was gone. We're not making offers to these guys before the season's over. And we know we're not talking to them, and no one in the press is saying we're talking to them. They're gone. And I just figured Tyron Smith is gone. So that's a tough one.
Yeah, man. And like, if you don't re-sign Tyron Smith, like the issue now is this, man. It's like we were planning on Tyron Smith moving on, picking up an experienced running back in free agency, and then being able to get your pick of the litter when it comes to offensive lineman in the draft. But now that you don't have a running back room, it's like, how do we if we don't resign Tyron Smith and we don't have a running and we have to draft a running back, are those guys going to be available? I actually think they will be. So I'm gonna read off the top PFF ranked running backs available right now and how they rank on the big board, which is all draft picks. So the first available running back should be Jonathan Brooks in the whole draft. Now, out of everyone in the draft, he's ranked 59th. So the guy Jonathan Brooks out of UT Texas. So the top running back in this draft class should be available to the Dallas Cowboys in round one. Now, if you decide and maybe I don't think he's around for round 2, though, I really don't. Someone's gonna pick him up
That's
before round
48.
2.
That's the 48th pick. You're saying he's a 59th.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe. So there's a
possible, but
possibility there's a possibility he stays around for round 2, but after that, you have Jalen Ryan out of Tennessee, you got Blake Corum out of Michigan, Bucky Irving out of Oregon, Ray Davis, Marshawn Lloyd, and then our boy Audric Estime, all available in potentially round two, even round three. So I know we're kind of jumping around all podcasts, but we're all flowing through it. It's just off season nonsense. So why don't you talk about your thoughts on who the Cowboys should go after? I think they have to draft a running back in this year's draft, 100% at some point. Who should that guy be? If not multiple guys, I know your answer. It's going to be Audric Estime. Tell the good people at home that may not be Notre Dame Fighting Irish fans why Audric Estime would be a big pickup for the Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, he's 100% Derrick Henry style. He's a downhill runner. He's powerful. You look at him. He's huge. His
Yeah.
biceps are sticking out of his uniform. He's a beast. He runs hard. He runs angry. He runs forward. His 40 times at the combine were unimpressive. So you know what? That's good news. We don't have a fourth round
Mhm.
pick. He might be around in the fifth round. You may be able to delay taking that running back and get him in the fifth. The problem I have is if we're seriously looking at AJ Dillon, which a lot of reports have us looking at AJ Dillon to try to get a deal on the cheap
He's gone.
and no one
He's
else.
gone as of couple hours
Okay.
ago. Sorry, Cover. The
All right.
Green Bay
Breaking
re-signed
news.
him.
There you
They
go.
re-signed him. Yeah, he's gone. I looked that up right before the podcast because I was going to talk about AJ Dillon, and I saw he's gone. He's re-signed with Green Bay,
Yeah.
so he's not available.
Well, I before the podcast, I wrote a new article for the We Like Sports we like sportsshow.com and we like sports show on Twitter. I'm doing the Dallas Cowboys section for them. And I wrote about the same subject this afternoon. So I missed that breaking news 2 hours earlier. AJ Dillon's gone. Well, I mean that's good news for Audric Estime because to finish my point, he's that runner that you want in short yardage. He's that runner that you want near the goal line in the red zone. He does not need to be that 25 carries a game, all purpose runner. They're going to have to get that elsewhere. But if he's around in the fifth round and you haven't picked up an AJ Dillon style runner, now that AJ's gone, I guess they're not going to do that. Maybe Audric gets drafted later. But who's going to be our RB1? No, that's the problem. If we're not getting that
Right.
free agent, I don't know. It might have to be Brooks early, second or third round, second round, maybe. We got to get that center in the first pick. And, you know, I I don't know if he's going to be there.
It's going
Jackson
to be tough.
Powers. I don't know if he's not there, then you got to get a center. You got to get a tackle. So when do you get your running back? And now when you get your linebacker, what, sixth round, fifth round, sixth
Yeah.
round? What's left? So these free agent moves are killing us. I know you don't want to talk free agency, but it trickles right into the draft. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. So a little good news for the draft. So due to some um, compensating picks, the Dallas Cowboys do have fifth and sixth round picks now.
Yeah.
That was kind of already pretty much known, but now it's kind of official. So if you're originally planning on the Cowboys to only have picks in 1 through 3 and then 2 in the 7th, we do have a fifth and sixth round. Um, I've got a feeling this front office has to make some moves for the draft because they've really made no office. They haven't really made moves in free agency. So maybe Jerry Jones is cooking up something for the draft. I hope so. But yeah, I mean we are
He's cooking
homers
up
for Audric
something.
Estime.
Yeah, he's cooking up something. All right.
That's my tinfoil of the week is Jerry Jones is all in on the draft. What he said was he's all in on the draft. We
Yeah.
confused it with we're gonna walk away with like 25 picks in this draft. He's about to go absolutely off, just like paying off people's,
No, I
generations
guess
of
he's going to plan on living to be 100 years old to see this team win the Super Bowl if he's starting over now because the
oh
dude's in his
man.
80s. So I thought he
Yeah,
was all in, man. I think Steven's pulling the strings. Steven is our problem. I said it on the last episode. Jerry, hang in there. But
you're right.
Steven did all the talking tonight. I talked about in my article. Steven did all this talking today about clarifying what all in meant. And it's got a lot to do with re signing your guys. We like our guys. They kept beating that drum. But like you said, they're letting guys walk. So if you like your guys, why are they walking? So Which guys do we like? Which guys do we not like? That's what we're about to find out, right?
Yeah. But I think Audric Esme is the guy you're looking at maybe in round 2 or 3. I don't know much about some of these
Mm.
other I think looking into Bucky Irving
His
more, he
stock
looks
has
good.
dropped. His stock has dropped since his 40 time, which I don't agree with, but I'm telling you, he's not go he's nobody will take him. They think he's slow now.
He's a great pickup for third down situations, short yardage situation, and he's probably the best, pass blocker running back in
Oh
this
yeah.
class. Also, like, if you're into PFF grades, and I know take it with a grain of salt, he may be not ranked the top prospect in this running back class, but as of 2023, so PFF, if you don't use it, they give a grade 1 through 100 on all players, right? Audric Estimate has the highest PFF grade for 2023 than any other running back in this year's draft class. So take that for what it is. I know a lot of us use PFF. I mean, they have a pretty good product out there. Especially when it comes draft time with all their mock drafts. But if you follow PFF, we're not just saying this because we're Notre Dame football fans as well. Like Audric Estimé is a solid running back if you're looking for a power back, which the Cowboys should be looking at. I think if you pair him with a veteran guy, I don't know who that is yet. Um, they probably need to make couple. They honestly probably need to draft a couple running backs in this class just to make sure they at least hit one because they missed last year with Deuce, unfortunately. Unless he comes back next year, who knows? Um, all right, so I know we're kind of all over the place in tonight's episode, but let's quickly cap it off with some of the signings around the NFC East. So the Eagles have made a ton of moves. The Commanders have obviously made a ton of moves. I'm going to start with the Commanders first. Um, I'm just going to read off all of their pickups in free agency so far. Austin Eckler, Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, Tyler Biotish, Zach Ertz, Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, Clelin Ferrell, Nick Allegretti, Jeremy Chin, Marcus Mariota, Brandon McManus, Tyler Ott, and they still have the number 2 pick in the draft, and 6 picks within the top 100. So, are you worried about the Washington Commanders next year, Cowboy Reg?
Half those guys were out of the league. So sounds like an old folks home. You're reading off the roster. Come on, man. I'm not worried about the Commanders. They don't even have a quarterback right now. Come on, Marcus Mariota. That's going to be their quarterback. I saw the Netflix special. The guy quit, walked away. Come on. Forget about that. Washington is Washington. They spent the most money in the last 3 years in free agency. 3 years, they spent the most money. Spending money doesn't win anything. If you can't do it on the field, it doesn't matter what these guys are making. And we see that over and over again. They got a lot of short term contracts. They're getting guys at the end of their career. We don't know if those guys are going to be trying or not. Yeah, I laugh at what Washington's done, and I laugh at people thinking they're going to win because this is what they do. They do this all the
Yeah.
time. You know, the Cleveland Browns went through this. They finally got it together a little bit. But, they are what they are when it comes to the playoffs, but so are we. But I don't see the Washington Commanders or whatever they're called. They're not going to win anything. I'm not worried about them. They might beat the Giants. They might sweep the Giants. The Giants are looking like they might be the worst team in football. You think our off season's bad? Their off season's even worse because they're creating a controversy in their quarterback room. We don't have that. Give us that much.
Yeah, so it's a lot, and you gotta remember that the Commanders do have the most cap space available, but you have to look at why do teams have a lot of cap space? Well, if you think about why the Cowboys have so much issue with cap space is because the players have performed, and you're getting to the point where you can't afford a full roster of good players anymore, and they have to move on. The same with all the good teams. All the top, well, for the most part, the good teams in the league don't have much cap space because you have great players on your team that you have to pay to keep, right? The only thing that makes me nervous about the Commanders is that they have a lot of hope in this team right now. They hired Dan Quinn. They brought in Cliff Kingsbury. They have a new front office. They're really trying to put a good product out there on the field. I don't worry about a ton of the guys they signed. I think Austin Eckler is a pretty good running back, and I think Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu are great linebackers, and they'll have one of the better, as it looks right now, they might have the best linebacker room in the NFL. But what does that do you when you have no quarterback? I don't know. But if they draft really well and they get and their rookies come out next year and perform, they could be a dangerous team. They could be a potential, wild card teetering team. I think they could be decent next year, but they still have some things that have to go well for them. But they're going to be fired up. They're going to, they have. There's going to be a lot of hype around that team, and they're going to be expected to perform a little bit next year. And maybe they can, maybe they won't. I'm not sure. Um,
Playing that
what about the
rookie quarterback, the hype's going to be all around the quarterback. We're going to forget all about these free agents. The press is going to shove the quarterback down our throat, whoever it is. And it's a rookie quarterback. I mean, CJ Stroud did it, but he's the exception. He's the exception. Rookie quarterbacks do not win as a rule. We can't all be CJ Stroud. So I'm not going to worry about them until they get a quarterback. And I think they're going to draft one. So we'll worry about them next year, but not this coming year.
Yeah, I just think, depending on what the Cowboys do, they're potentially dangerous. And if the Cowboys like don't start making some moves, I mean, I'm a little worried in the NFC East right now. I mean, talk about a division that hasn't had back-to-back champs in the past, what, 15 years, 10, 15 years. Um, we all thought the Eagles were dead, but they've made some big moves. Are they going to pan out? I don't know. But the thing that I hate to say that, I really hate to say this, but the thing I like about what the Eagles did in the offseason so far is they took where they were weak and they made upgrades. Now that's a big if when it comes to running back because Saquon Barkley, he's got to stay healthy, which seems pretty tough for him to do. But they needed help in the defense, and they picked up linebacker Bryce Huff, linebacker Zach Bond, and cornerback CJ Gardner Johnson, all upgrades for their defense. They struggled in the run game last year. They went out and got the top uh, I mean, what most people are calling the top free agent running back, I wouldn't consider Saquon Barkley the top free agent running back. I know you wouldn't either, but they went and made moves where they needed to improve. Whether it's going to work out, I don't know. But we were singing. We thought the Eagles might be dead, but man, I don't know. I mean, they
Yeah,
they
but
made
I
improvements there.
Swift Swift had better stats than Barkley. I mean, all the hype around Barkley, we see it over and again. Pollard had better stats than Barkley. Derrick Henry had better stats than Barkley, and Swift did too. So that's a wash to me. They lost Kelsey, the heart and soul of their team. They lost Fletcher Cox, the heart and soul of their defense. They didn't replace those guys. They got bodies to replace them. They did not get one for the center yet. They're probably going to steal them from us in the draft. But I think their quarterback, I mean, excuse me, their running back move was it's just a wash. They're just trading one for the other.
Yeah, fair enough. But there's some upside there with Saquon. I mean, we know if he's able to play a 17 game season, he could be
He
dangerous.
never will be. He never is though. He never is.
I know. It's a risk, but they at least they went out and took the risk. And they're if I were to say who's going all in right now, from my definition
They're
of all
going
in,
all in.
whereas where you yeah they are.
Yeah,
I mean
they're
they're
going all
making
in.
extensions. They're putting money
Yeah.
on their credit card right now and they're trying to win next year because their window is closing. And as of right now, it doesn't look like the Cowboys are necessarily doing that. And there's good things and there's bad things. I know we all want to win next year. We all want to win the Super Bowl next year. Um, as of right now, I don't think that's gonna happen. I hate to say it, but
I
it's gonna
think
be
it all depends on what they do with Dak. If they don't extend Dak by the draft,
it's not happening.
I think we're rebuilding. And I think we accept we're rebuilding. And Trey Lance is going to be our quarterback in the following year. There's no other solution. You have to admit that. If they don't extend Dak, that he's playing out his contract. Why
You
would
when
you
you
let
got a
him play out his
$60 million
contract?
quarterback, yeah. When you got a
Yeah,
$60 million cap hit quarterback and
yeah,
you're gonna let him play one more year without restructuring that, you are 100% right. It's I
you're
don't know if it's
rebuilding, and
rebuilding, but it's
it's
not giving the
rebuilding.
team the full resources it needs. I guess, yeah.
Yeah,
It's not it's the
reloading. I mean,
begin.
maybe we're
It's the begin
reloading.
of their
Maybe we get a wild card bid this year and get beat like we did anyways this year. But or maybe we're 9-8 this year, and they let all these veterans walk, and they re-sign the young guys. You
yeah,
re-sign Bland, you re-sign Micah Parsons, and re-sign CD, and then you draft, and you put Trey Lance in, and you rebuilt the team. We were told this was all in. That's my problem. If you tell me you're rebuilding after the collapse in Green Bay, I'd say, hell yeah, you should be rebuilding after that game. But no, they
yeah.
go up to the mic and they say, we're all in next year. We won't let this happen again. But that does not appear to be the strategy they're taking.
The issue I have with that is that if I think we're just stuck in the ugly middle right now because I don't think you can really tell either way where we're going, where this franchise is heading. The issue I have is like, why, if you're not going to extend Dak and you're not going to go after these major free agents, and Mike McCarthy has 1 year left on his contract, and you just bring in a new defensive coordinator, Mike
Yeah.
Zimmer, like you have to be planning on the team having success next year. Otherwise, you would have fired Mike McCarthy, right? Why would you keep Mike McCarthy around if you were gonna like pseudo like kind of rebuild your team? That's what doesn't make any sense to me. I think like at the very beginning they were all in, but then now they didn't do anything major moves in free agency, and you're seeing a lot of guys depart. I don't know. There's just so much to go into it. Um, But I think the Eagles are clearly going all in for next year, and whether that's gonna work out for them, I don't know. A lot of it depends on the health, and they're taking chances on some guys. We don't know if they're gonna pan out. And it's like you said, they had some veterans walk away from the team, so ask a Eagles fan right now, they're going to the fucking Super Bowl, but we all know that they're
Yeah.
not the smartest bunch of folks, no offense,
That's
all
what I'm saying. Yeah, that we're getting way too we overreact as a fan base, in all fan bases do. We overreact to the combine, then we overreact to the legal tampering period, and then we overreact when free agency starts, and then we're going to overreact on the draft. Then we're going to
Yeah,
really overreact in the preseason. Preseason games are like Super Bowls all of a sudden on social media. It's a Super Bowl. If you lost your preseason game, you're going to go 0-17. And then, we get to the real season, and then we'll find out. I mean, I told you before the show started, we have our core. We have CeeDee Lamb, we have Dak Prescott, we have Micah Parsons, we have Demarcus Lawrence, we have Bland, we have Diggs. That we have a core. We have a core. There's no reason why we can't win games. 12-5 is not easy to do. We can't expect that every year. Maybe win 10 or 11 games next year. That might be good enough to win the NFC East. If Washington's competitive, that just means they're going to take a game off us. They're going to take a game off the Eagles. Now you got a dogfight. That may not be a bad thing for us. We've been just going at it with the Eagles for the past few years. Throw someone
yeah,
else in the mix, and we might get tougher. We might get playoff tough. How playoff tough would we drop like 50 on Washington in their stadium the week before we played Green Bay? That didn't help us. It didn't help us
right.
at all. Let's get another good team in the division. Go ahead, Washington. Win some games. Make sure they're against Philly, but win some games. We're good with that.
Yeah, I mean, but overall, yeah, it looks like the teams in the NFC East are improving. I mean, Washington has nowhere to go but up, and I mean, hell, this whole thing could blow up for them next year, but they should be better. The Giants, not, yeah, I think they're
We
the
haven't done
cellar
anything. We
dwellers.
we haven't done anything, and it's overshadowing the fact that Giants haven't done anything. And now
Yeah,
they're creating their own little drama with talking about drafting a quarterback, and I don't know what's going on over there with Daniel Jones and the Giants, but You're talking about a bad team that hasn't done anything. We're a good team that hasn't done anything. They're a bad team that hasn't done anything. So I can't expect anything out of them at this point. We'll see. There's still plenty of time left in free agency. There's people, we got guys, we just talked about it. We got Gilmore, what are we going to do with Gilmore? There's guys like that
Right.
out there on all those teams. So free agency has just begun. If we just take a step back, I'm not doing it. I'm freaking out. But the advice would be take a step back, let it play out. We get to the draft, then we're going to know our real needs. Right now, we're just speculating.
100%. But yeah, it's been a heck of a week, Cowboy Nation. It's been tough as a Cowboys fan because there's this again, like always, there's a serious disconnect between our front office and the Cowboys fans. And what they're doing right now, I think it just doesn't really make a lot of sense because it's a mixture between like I don't know. I just there's moves to be made that aren't being made, so it's very confusing. It seems like they're going cheap on a year where you only need a few more real, pieces of the puzzle there, like for your team to really make a run at this thing, and they're not doing it. So I can't tell what they're doing right now, but hey, they should theoretically know more than I do. So maybe there's a method to all this madness. We will see, like Cowboy Red said. Let it play out. But hey, let us know your thoughts on free agency. Let's continue this talk. That's all we have to talk about until the draft comes. So we're going to continue to bring that content to you. Again, hey, go check out Packers Without Borders, our recent episode, and we will let you know next time we are going to collaborate with another podcast. Um, any final thoughts before we sign off tonight, Cowboy Reg? I think this has been an awesome episode. The listeners have seen us fired up, and hopefully they're feeling the same way, same level of frustration as we are.
Yeah, let's just stay the course, Cowboy Nation. Where things are going to get better, we hope, but we're going to stay on top of it. And check me out on X, Cowboy_Reg with the double G. Got to have that double G. And we'll keep you informed. I've been trying to break as much news as I can. Apparently, I didn't do a good job on the AJ Dillon news today, but I'll try to do better.
That's all right. I mean, that's totally understandable. I didn't really, it must not have hit a notification. I don't know what happened. Like they kind of kept it low key. I think it's just been so crazy that he
Yeah.
just kind of snuck in there. So we don't fault you, Cowboy Red. You're still our guy. You're still our go-to when it comes to breaking news, Cowboys news. So thank you for all you do, Cowboy Red. We appreciate you every day. If no one's told you
Hey, brother.
recently, I appreciate you. All right, so hey, Cowboys Nation, we're gonna sign off tonight. Thanks for listening to another episode of Sons of the Star podcast. Follow us on X at Sons of Star Pod and at Cowboy_Reg. We are on Spotify and YouTube, so subscribe to our channel, leave us a rating, leave us some questions on X, and Willie, we'll see you next time. Go Cowboys, all out.
Go Cowboys.